Everyone knows the story. Blockbuster was offered the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million in 2000, laughed them out of the room, and then got destroyed by the very company they rejected. It's one of the most famous business blunders in history. But here's the thing, that's not actually what killed Blockbuster. The real story is far more shocking, involving billionaire corporate raiders, internal sabotage, and a CEO who actually had a plan to crush Netflix. And it almost worked. Let me explain. In the year 2000, when Netflix co-founders Reed Hastings and Mark Randolph flew to Dallas to pitch Blockbuster on a $50 million acquisition, Blockbuster seemed untouchable. They had 9,000 stores worldwide, 84,000 employees, and revenues around $5 billion. Netflix, they were a struggling DVD by mail service, losing money every month with just 300,000 subscribers. Mark Randolph described walking into that meeting and feeling completely outmatched. When they pitched the $50 million price tag, Blockbuster executives were fighting to suppress laughter. Hastings later recalled leaving that room feeling humiliated, imagining thousands of Blockbuster employees laughing at how ridiculous their proposal was. But here's what everyone gets wrong. Turning down Netflix wasn't actually a stupid decision. At the time, Netflix had no streaming technology, no original content, and no clear path to profitability. They were just mailing DVDs, something Blockbuster could easily replicate themselves, and they did. In 2004, Blockbuster launched Blockbuster Online, and it was actually working. By 2007, they had a hybrid model where you could rent online and return in stores, which Netflix couldn't match. They were pulling subscribers away from Netflix so aggressively that Netflix had to lower their prices just to compete. Blockbuster even sued them for patent infringement. John Antioco, Blockbuster's CEO, had a vision: eliminate the hated late fees, build the online business, and transition the company into the digital future before it was too late. And then Carl Icahn showed up. In 2004, Icahn, one of Wall Street's most feared corporate raiders, started buying up Blockbuster shares. He'd made billions through hostile takeovers and wasn't shy about it. The man was literally the inspiration for Gordon Gekko's "Greed is Good" speech in the movie Wall Street. And Icahn had a different plan for Blockbuster entirely. Icahn immediately called Antioco's strategy into question, publicly stating that Blockbuster had spent too much on its online business and paid the CEO too much money. He wanted Blockbuster to bring back late fees, stop investing in digital, and focus only on short-term profits. Antioco refused. He knew the future was online, and abandoning that strategy would be suicide. So Icahn launched a proxy fight. In 2005, he got himself and two allies elected to Blockbuster's board. For the next 2 years, Antioco tried to execute his digital transformation, while Icahn fought him at every turn. The tension reached a breaking point over Antioco's compensation package. Antioco was entitled to a bonus if he hit certain targets, but when he did, Icahn refused to pay it, calling it egregious. In 2007, frustrated and exhausted, Antioco resigned. He later said, "I firmly believe that if our online strategy had not been essentially abandoned, Blockbuster Online would have 10 million subscribers today." And here's the kicker. After leaving, Antioco sold his Blockbuster shares and invested heavily in Netflix instead, because he could see exactly where things were headed. Icahn then installed Jim Keyes as the new CEO. Keyes came from 7-Eleven, where he'd done an incredible job turning around convenience stores. But Keyes had a vision that was, let's just say, wildly optimistic. His plan? Merge Blockbuster with Radio Shack to create what he called a technology-agnostic Apple Store. He told investors Blockbuster's real competitors weren't Netflix or Redbox, but Walmart and Apple. In one particularly infamous interview with The Motley Fool in 2008, Keyes said, "Neither Redbox nor Netflix are even on the radar screen in terms of competition." Analysts thought he was delusional. CNBC's Jim Cramer added him to his Hall of Shame. But Keyes insists the real story is more complicated. Under his leadership, Blockbuster acquired MovieLink in 2007, giving them access to 3,000 streaming titles and relationships with major studios. He was negotiating a potential joint venture with Google that would have paired YouTube's free content with Blockbuster's paid streaming. He claims they were actually well positioned to beat Netflix. So, what went wrong? In 2008, Lehman Brothers collapsed. The financial crisis hit, and suddenly Blockbuster couldn't refinance their $350 million in debt. Worse, panicking movie studios changed their payment terms from 90 days credit to cash on delivery, yanking $300 million in working capital out of the business overnight. Keyes later said, "It left us no option at all. Ultimately, what forced us into a restructuring was not even the need to refinance the debt. There was a run on the bank. Right when Blockbuster needed Google most, an article leaked about potential bankruptcy. Google's board walked away from the deal immediately. The timing couldn't have been worse." Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in September 2010. Icahn, who'd once owned 17 million shares and fought so hard to control the company, later wrote in Harvard Business Review that Blockbuster failed because of too much debt and changes in the industry. He called it the worst investment he ever made. But there's a darker subplot here. Some creditors filed lawsuits alleging that Icahn had dumped his equity shares in March 2010, months before bankruptcy, while simultaneously buying up senior debt. They claimed he had insider knowledge and intentionally tanked the company to profit from the bankruptcy proceedings. The accusations suggested Icahn knew exactly what he was doing when he derailed Antioco's digital strategy years earlier. Meanwhile, Antioco, the man who was supposedly too expensive and too focused on digital, he walked away wealthy from his Netflix investment, vindicated but largely forgotten. So what really killed Blockbuster? It wasn't Netflix's brilliance or some inevitable technological shift. It was a perfect storm of terrible timing, crushing debt from Viacom's previous ownership, and most importantly, an activist investor who dismantled a working digital strategy to chase quarterly profits. By the time Keyes tried to resurrect the digital transformation, the 2008 financial crisis made it impossible. Today, there's one Blockbuster left in Bend, Oregon. It's become a nostalgic tourist attraction, and in perhaps the most ironic twist imaginable, Netflix made a documentary about it called The Last Blockbuster, which you can stream right now on, you guessed it, Netflix. The lesson here isn't just about embracing technology or adapting to change. It's about what happens when short-term thinking and activist shareholders destroy long-term vision. Antioco saw the future clearly. He was building toward it, but he was stopped not by Netflix, not by technology, and not by market forces. He was stopped by Carl Icahn's desire for immediate returns. So the next time someone tells you Blockbuster died because they turned down Netflix, remember, they actually came closer to winning than most people realize, and they might have if only they'd been allowed to finish what they started.